BRRRR. Brr. It can be cold. And we've experienced a few days of cold weather. I'm just saying it could be snowy, it could be rainy, but this is the time of the year that we could capitalize on making more water based meals. Hi, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whenever you're listening to this. This is Jan. Welcome to another episode on this channel. Hope everybody is doing well. Recently all of us have been probably Thanksgiving now in a nice way. I'm just saying lots of rich foods, whatever. Two things come in handy right now. Okay. Something lighter, something totally easy to make, right? And something right at the hands of our pantries. What am I talking about? Water based meals. What's a water based meal, Jan? It's a meal that's made out of a lot of water, like soup. I like to work with number 6 cups, okay? Because sometimes when you have a bowl of soup, you just might want to dig in for a little bit more. So instead of just making it, for example, 4 cups, for a couple of people, do 6 is my suggestion. But of course, it all depends on the size of your family and your needs. What I like about this, it not only helps you keep your refrigerator cleaner, but you are definitely avoiding food waste. Here's some tips, okay? There are some soups that absolutely you don't have to add 1 ounce of protein. You don't have to add 1 ounce of meat to. You definitely working with what's on hand. For example, the carrot soup that I've mentioned a number of times. Mash up your boiling carrots, put it in bouillon as you're doing it. And then, another shortcut trick, you could do one of two things. You could add a half a can of chickpeas to that, garbanzo beans, or cannellini, whatever one you want. You can mash that all together. Or here's another very simple trick, okay? Like a quarter of a package of the instant mashed potato flakes makes a great soup thickener. I'm just saying. 99% of many folks have these things on hand. This is what I love. Using things that we have on hand, okay? How many of you out there saved some of those bones from the turkey? Uh-huh, uh-huh. I know, very smart. You packed them up and you froze them up. There's nothing wrong with making a bone broth. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm just saying. And here's the thing, when it comes to using meats or proteins in these meals or a stew, you don't need a whole lot of it. You do not. For example, let's say now let's take it to a stew level. Suppose you have some leftover steak or some roast or some pork roast or some chicken or whatever. Dice some of that up carefully, but you can make the potatoes, the celery, and the carrots the star of the show, and however way you thicken up your stew, okay? And by the way, cornstarch is a very cheap and easy way to thicken up. You make a slurry, and then you add it to your stew, and voila, you thickened it up. Add some good flavoring to it, whether it be chicken, whether it be beef, whether it be pork. You see where I'm going with this? You don't have to spend a lot to actually create a lot, okay? And don't forget good old rice, good old noodles, things of that nature. If you don't have potatoes, like if you boiled potatoes, for example, chop them up on the little bit of a chunky side and add it to either make a chunky style soup or a chunky style stew. This is what I do like about the cooler weather. You're more or less not apt to want to have those items in the summertime or in the springtime. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you if you do feel like it, because I've had those nights where I'm like, yeah, I don't mind breaking open a can of soup, even if it's July. But this is the season, at least in my area, and I'm sure for many of you listening, not only is it the season, but it is a wonderful opportunity to make stuff easily. I love a one pot meal. There are so many advantages to it. And by the way, this one pot meal does not have to be attended to on the stove. You could do it in your good old crock pot. I'm telling you, a kitchen helper, a little bit of a friend there getting the stuff done. You could do all those things and start it early, a few hours earlier than you intend to eat. You could always keep it warm when it is actually done. There are so many things I could talk about the benefits, not to mention the health benefits, cleaning up and avoiding food waste benefits. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And by the way, let's say you make one of those carrot soups, or I love a split pea and ham soup. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is good. That is good. If you have a little bit of, ham left over. If you don't have ham, you could chop up a frankfurter and put in there to give it that smoky effect. I'm not even kidding you. But what I like is a nice quality crouton on top of that. And sometimes you could get them on sale during this holiday season period of time. You could get some really good toasty, roasty croutons to go with it. Again, either a banana or an apple or an orange for your side fruit instead of looking for a sugary dessert. We have enough upcoming holidays for all of that. In this period of time between, like, let's say the last holiday and before the next holiday, this is a wonderful time for like rest and renewal for our bodies by not taking in so much sugar, fat, sweets. It's sort of like a little bit of a kind of like a fasting period in a good way if you think about it. Although you're not totally fasting because you are absolutely eating, but we are fasting on spending a lot of money. And here's a big mistake that sometimes people make, and it's not taking advantage of what is actually inside of that refrigerator or freezer. Have you been there lately? I know. We get caught up with so many other things that, well, it's not necessarily on the top of our mind, but how we manage our refrigerator can actually affect our grocery budget for real and for true. And keep in mind that we have spent this money already. Why not maximize the use of it? That could be a problem when we don't do that. I don't know why we don't do that, but many, many times we just don't do that. It's just the way it works, unfortunately. So I'm thinking to myself, do you have any ideas for a nice water based meal? I just mentioned a couple. There's something I'm sure that you could think of and just add it to the comment section below. By the way, here are some really good throw ins. Couscous. I hope I'm saying it properly. I have fallen in love with that product. I like to throw a handful of that in a vegetable soup. Gives it a little bit of extra texture. So yummy on the tummy. Very, very good. And basically, what is couscous? It's not a grain. Many people think it's a grain. No, it is not. But it is made from semolina pasta. It's like a very, very small, I like the very smallest version of it, the teensy weensy version of couscous. Very, very good. And all you need is a little handful. So I take a little handful of cooked couscous and I throw it in. If I'm saying it improperly, please forgive me. So I'm just saying, okay, couscous or couscous. I think it's couscous. Anyway, let me see what else. And those root vegetables, example, carrots, onions, celery, potatoes. One can never go wrong by keeping those vegetables on hand. They are the least expensive of the vegetables. Potatoes are filling, carrots are filling. I mean, the onions give that, aroma, that flavor, and celery is amazing. And speaking of which, here's a nice thing to have with your little bowl of soup: a simple sandwich, a tuna sandwich, a grilled cheese sandwich, a ham and cheese sandwich. We do not have to break the bank just to have meals, and we do not have to go totally out of our way. If we make this big old pot of soup, for example, on a Monday night, it can be shared on and off all week long as a side dish or as the main course. Sometimes as a main course with some croutons or some toasted English muffin, or perhaps you want some cornbread. To me, these are simple, easy to make meals and perfect on those so many BRRR nights coming up. And don't forget about lunch either. All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. And I really do appreciate your time. Don't forget to click like, share, and subscribe.